All right. What's going on, boys and girls? What's happening? It's Monday. Another day. Another stream. What is up? So, yeah, V4 here, just hanging, setting everything up. Yep. Today we're going to be looking at a few videos.
Hello again, friends. Sorry I've been gone for quite a bit.
Yeah, I didn't mean
hopefully
to,
nothing too
accidentally click there. But yeah, we're going to be taking a look at the male loser epidemic. I find to be very interesting. Something that's been gradually getting worse through time. I would say something that probably like the last 2 decades have made bad. And I think a big problem there has been the proliferation of the internet and how easy it is for people to communicate with other people, how easy it is to find other people for express purposes, how easy it is for people to have social media, all this and that. It's made it easier for people to connect in a sort of Death Stranding style way, and that connection has made it harder. Oh hey, Armani 3567. Yeah, I don't know if Armani, you sound like a bot, man. I don't know what you're talking about. So I might not know this. Rise of Hydra. Oh, that's the new game. They should have showed gameplay. Oh, you're not a bot? Oh, okay. Well, okay, maybe you're not a bot. Yeah, so what is... Oh, he got banned. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. He was talking about the new Marvel game, but I haven't talked about the new Marvel game at all. Hey, Loyalty. Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm not sure what he was talking about. He said he's not a bot. So I don't know. I don't know what was going on there. That was strange. Because, he is not a bot? Okay. Then why did you ban him? But he's promoting something. Oh, the new Marvel game? Okay. Yeah, I am actually interested in that game. I don't know what it's called. It's called Marvel 1943 or something like that, and it's supposed to take place in like World War II, and it's supposed to, I think, have like Wolverine and Captain America or something like that, and like the Black Panther, I think. And it's supposed to be like super high budget and like cinematic and like super good graphics and all this and that, and it's a single player game, which we don't have these anymore. It's made by the lady that made she was a big part of I think she was director of Uncharted 2, which is that sort of game. It's that sort of single player, high budget, crazy set pieces, all of this and that. So that game, yeah, it's cool. It's a cool game, but I don't know what he was talking about. And I don't know why he would be promoting that game now. That game's nowhere near in sight from releasing. I mean, yeah, he was saying that it was going to be at Gamescom. So I guess he wants us to tune into Gamescom so we can promote the game. And you know what? I probably will be here. Gamescom 2025. And we'll stream that maybe. I don't know what time it is. It depends, because that's all the way in Europe. That's like in Germany, I think. So, yeah. But yeah, I think that the advent of going back here to this Shoe on Head video, the advent of social media has made it harder for people to socialize, and it's made it harder for people to develop social skills. Like, there's situations now where like young people are afraid of, like, they're totally fine texting other people, but they are afraid of actually meeting the person that they spend all this time. They're friends that they spend all this time texting. They don't want to meet them in real life. They don't want to go out to dinner. They don't want to talk to them, because they're like the anxiety of it all, because they're not used to it. And that is so strange, because it's like socializing with people. It's the most natural thing. Now, me, I've had issues because I don't know if I was born with it or what, but I have anxiety issues. So I understand how some people may find it difficult because I found it difficult. Growing up, I had anxiety issues talking to people, and I didn't know what I had. I was never taken to the doctor, so I never knew what the flip was going on with me. I just knew that something was wrong. And yeah, and that made it harder for me. But I think for the average person doesn't have those issues. But if you don't have people, if you're not placing kids in these environments where they can socialize, if you have things like COVID that are making it so kids can't go to school at critical times in their lives, and socialize and meet friends and go out and do things like normal human beings, then you know the saying, you don't use it, right? You lose it. So I think that's what's happened to people. All this technology has made it, all this technology whose point is to make it easier for people to connect has made it harder for people to connect. I remember I got one of these friend apps, and it was not a dating app. I was just like looking specifically for a friend app because I wanted to check it out. I wanted to check out this whole like online friends app thing, and I wanted to see what that was all about. And quickly I learned that it is a numbers game, and like you may find somebody's profile. Like I remember I found this person's profile who liked this game that I liked, and I'm just like, hey, what's up? What's going on? And like they'll talk to you for a little bit, and if you're not like mega ultra special, right, like they'll just immediately stop talking to you. Because why? And at first I was like, I thought they were rude, right? They just stopped talking to me, like we just barely got started in the conversation. And what I realized is that these people, they have like 100 people who are messaging them from all over the world to talk and socialize over the same topics that you're trying to talk to them about. So it's like this economy of, you know, way too much supply and not enough demand. And guess what happened to me? My account started getting flooded with all of these people that were trying to talk to me. So all of a sudden I started doing the thing that people were doing to me, where I was like filtering people out, because, and not even treating them like human beings, just like, not even giving them a response, you know, uh, all this sorts of like, just like, oh, I'm not even going to talk to these people, or I'm just going to like, swipe the other way or whatever. Because I had so many people that were trying to reach me. And I realized all of this doing is commodifying people. It's turning them into like this product, and when you have so much product, right? When there's so many options, you're only going to pick the handful best 5 or top 10 or whatever options, and then you're just going to forget about everything else. And so I decided, I was like, this app is just like this sort of way of like meeting people. It's actually a very toxic way of meeting. And that's when I realized that people, like, this is the same issue that people have with dating apps. But there's like way too many women. I'm sorry, no, there's way too many men. And there's few women, right? And the women have all of these guys to choose from. And so they'll quickly ghost all of these guys, and they'll quickly, like, it turns into like, you gotta be like 6 feet tall. You gotta make 150K a year. You gotta have a Ferrari or something, or like a fancy car. And if you don't have all of these things, that you quickly get filtered out. And can you blame them? I can't blame them. When they have so many men, they have hundreds of men that are messaging them daily. How are you supposed to filter through all that? Right? Like, how you're not going to be able to talk to all these people at the same time. But if this was real life, if you were just hanging out somewhere in like a town somewhere, there's not going to be hundreds or thousands of men trying to talk to a single girl. It's just not going to happen, because that's not how people work, right? Unless she's like a famous movie star or something, and she's like signing a book or whatever, there's not going to be like billions of men trying to line up or whatever. And so like more natural social dynamics will take place, and there won't be as much competition. And that's kind of like a natural environment for people. This whole the whole world can talk to you. You have people from India that are messaging you. You have people that are from like Egypt. I have people from Egypt messaging me, and people from Germany, people from Japan, anybody that can speak your language messaging you. It gets very overwhelming, and you just start looking at people like numbers. You start looking at people like they rain from the sky, like they're just like people grow on trees, just super common stuff. and you start filtering through them like as if they weren't people. Um, and I think that shit sucks. But it's what the technology enables. So I think all of that stuff has made it harder for people, especially young men who have nothing to offer. When you're young, you're unproven. You don't have like you may not even have a job, right? Like you're just starting out. You may be wanting to go to college or this, and that. And these young dudes have to compete with dudes that are like 25 years old and they got a job. They're making money. They have their own place. All of this and that. And it didn't used to be this bad. But now with all of this technology, it makes it easier for people who have it made to casually find people who are younger, right, and are looking for romance. We're looking for a mate. So these people who are like, if you're like, I don't know, if you have like a 19-year-old girl, back in the day, if this was like the freaking 70s, that 19-year-old girl would be dating a 19-year-old guy. Now you have these 19-year-old girls on their on Instagram and all these social media and the dating apps and whatever, and there's gonna be a dude that's like freaking 30 who has it made, who has a fancy car. He's just gonna ride in and and she's gonna go with him because he's the best pick. So I think that it's like this winner take all scenario. And all of that stuff's made it harder for, I think, young people to be able to just live lives normally, socialize normally, like they used to be able to. But it is what it is. You're not gonna roll back technology, right? We're just gonna have to adapt and deal with it. Like it reminds me of how like social media and phone usage immediately around this was like 2010 drastically shut up the levels of anxiety and mental health issues that students had in universities. And there's studies on this. Like it immediately spiked the moment that everybody started getting the iPhone, everybody started getting Android phones, and they started being on Facebook and later other social medias. All of a sudden, that made it so people don't like they just have all of this stuff that's flaunted in front of them. Like, oh, look at me, I'm always having all this great time, and look at me, I'm always wearing, like I always look beautiful, and this and that. They have filters on, they have tons of makeup on, but a lot of people don't understand that these are smoke and mirrors, and they think to themselves, like a young girl will look at herself, and she's just an average, normal, healthy girl, and she'll look at herself in the mirror, and she won't look anywhere near as perfect as these girls do with all their filters and all their makeup and all of this plastic surgery and this and that. And all of a sudden, that girl feels like she's just like a really ugly, unappealing thing, and she starts making decisions that are bad for her health. So, yeah, man, the advent of phones, the internet, and social media has done untold damage to the youth, and I don't really know how to fix it. I mean, other than like trying to inform people in like a freaking drugs are bad kind of way. Hey, social media is bad and you shouldn't take it all seriously. It's hard, man. It's fucking hard. So yeah, I want to take a look at this video and then we'll see what else. Got a couple other things. Maybe I started late today, so we'll see what we can get to. There's a donkey video I wanted to react to. Um, and this video game here called Varlet. Is it Varlet? Varlet preview? I want to take a look at that. Sounds very interesting. So let's get started. And let's start with this shoe on head video, the male loser epidemic. And for that, let's go ahead and stop the music here. Oh, it's just like the whole playlist ended. Did it really? Was that really the last song? Yeah. All right, right on. Okay. So let's get to it. Switch stats are up, stream information. Here we go. I was like making sure that it's at like set at 1080p because otherwise it'll just randomly stop not using my internet. It'll drop down to like 360p and shit. But if you just put it at 1080p, it just stays locked there.
Hello again,
Maximum
friends.
quality.
Sorry I've been gone for.
Excuse me. All right, here we go.
Hello again, friends. Sorry I've been gone for quite a bit. Hopefully nothing too crazy happened. I feel like every time I take a break, like a war breaks out or something, but thankfully that did not happen.
Right.
But at least we found out the
Yeah,
real
that's what I
Epstein
was gonna
files
say.
were the friends we made along the way. Welcome back.
That's what I was gonna say. The Epstein thing happened, and that's been a freaking disaster. Like that's been so freaking bad. Like what a massive f up that's been. Holy shit. But yeah, yeah. I mean, other than that, and like apparently tensions are getting high again, like we're like the whole Iran Israel thing. So other than that, yeah, we're peachy.
To the Shoe on Head channel. If it is your first time here, run. I am Shoe on Head, and on this channel I like to cover cultural issues mostly surrounding men's issues. It's what I've been doing for over a decade, and frankly, I'm exhausted. Many of you have been along for the ride, and you have seen me go from a chipper, lively 24-year-old making.
Yeah, yeah. She used to be on 4chan. I remember this. She used to be on 4chan, and like people were really like really stoked on her, I'd say. Because she looked like Boxy. Like an ancient this is like an ancient fossil meme. An ancient like freaking 4chan meme from like 10,000 years ago. But yeah, that's how she started out, and she's done really well for herself. I'm really proud of her. Hopefully one day I'll get there.
Fun of BuzzFeed and Tumblr feminists, to a
Yeah.
bitter, calloused 34-year-old talking about very real and growing men's issues. One of the main men's issues I have been covering in great detail lately has been the male loneliness epidemic. Yeah, but turns out I was wrong. We don't have a male loneliness epidemic. We have a male loser epidemic.
Right, right. It just so happens that I don't know, for whatever reason we have more losers. I mean, to be honest, I think there may be some truth here. I think that, like if you look back in time, you look back to like the days of like Sparta, like you look at how men were back then, and then you look at them now, you go into a Walmart and you just stand by like the entrance of a Walmart and just watch the men and women waltz in and just have that image of Sparta, just ancient Sparta, just just opposed over the Walmart people. And you know what? I think she's right. I think we do have a male and female, to be honest, epidemic. Because if you look back to the ancient people, these people were fit, they were strong, they were hardy, they were stoic as fuck. And now you have men crying on social media over like fucking being called words. You have men on. I mean, just go to Blue Sky. You have men on Blue Sky that are just they're being the exact opposite of Spartan men. So you know what? I think this lady will probably disagree with me and my take, but I think she may be right.
It's not a male loneliness epidemic. No, it's a male mediocrity epidemic. It's a male loser epidemic.
The male loser epidemic has gotten so bad that it's honestly so pathetic at this point.
Now, I don't.
I like how she's just there and she's trying to put on her makeup. Like she's just like I feel like there's almost like the fact that that you feel the need that you need to go through like and put on all this bullshit just to be presentable. And some people may think I'm being mean because some people feel that makeup is absolutely necessary. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's true. This may be controversial. My ex wore no makeup ever, and she was beautiful. She was a very pretty lady. She just had a fantastic face. And she never put on makeup, and I was like, this is fucking ballin'. She looks great. Not once in my life did I ever think, oh yeah, she needs makeup. So I feel like this lady just there, cleaning up her face and doing all this and that. I feel like in itself, she's kind of proving that maybe she's not so hot. Maybe she's not that high in the food chain. Maybe she shouldn't be casting stones. You know, if you already feel that the way that you look isn't enough, maybe chill on the insults.
always talk about men's issues. No, sometimes I talk about politics, and sometimes I mix the two together. Now, I know a lot of you don't like politics,
They
you
go
don't
hand
care
in
about
hand.
politics. But politics cares about you, and it will enter your life no matter how hard you try to avoid it. But
True.
thankfully, I have the perfect app to help you navigate this difficult, confusing
Oh, okay, here
political
we go.
landscape. So let's quickly give a shout out to today's sponsor, Ground News, before we get into this video,
I've
shall
heard of
we?
this.
Ground News is a website and an app that gives readers a fun and transparent way to read the news from all across the political spectrum,
Yeah.
from left, right, and center. Every story comes with a quick visual breakdown of the political bias, ownership, and headlines that helps you
This is a
understand the
cool
full
idea.
story and make sure you're getting both sides.
Yeah, this
One of
is
my
cool.
favorite features from Ground News has to be the blind spot feature, which shows you news stories that have been covered by only one side of the political spectrum and ignored by the other.
Yeah.
For example, here is a story about how the CIA uncovered a Russiagate fraud, and right away we can see how it has been covered by 41 sources, and out of those 41 sources, 93% of them lean right, with only
Wow.
2 left-wing outlets reporting the story.
That's
Ground News also makes it
interesting.
really
And notice how MSNBC wasn't one of the left wing sources there. That's interesting. Wow, I would have expected so much more from MSNBC.
easy to compare headlines to see just how political bias can affect the framing of a story. For example, this story about Zoran Mamdani winning the Democratic primary in New York. This left-leaning outlet says Zoran Mamdani's win just got a little sweeter. And meanwhile, the right-wing outlet says, meet Zoran Mamdani, the man who will ruin New York. As you can see,
Fair and balanced,
very
both
different
of them.
vibes.
Yeah.
I have been using Ground News since 2021 because I think it is so informative, so fun, and it helps me see how different stories are framed so differently, and
So
I love
fun.
it. I highly recommend it. It's one of the few apps that I
Reading
wake
about
up and
politics
just
is fun.
immediately check. But don't just take my word for it. Even the Nobel Peace Center
is true.
called it an excellent way to stay informed, avoid echo chambers, and expand your worldview.
Yeah, this is actually this is if you
An
want to
excellent
avoid
way-
the echo chambers, you have to be able to listen to all sides. You have to you can't just focus on one opinion, right? You have to the way that you get better is by formulating better arguments. And the way that you formulate a better argument, right, is by being challenged. And from that challenge, from that difficulty, you learn, okay, this is how I can tackle this well. This is something that's effective. This is something that's not. And then you go back to the lab and you iterate upon your arguments. So it is absolutely true. You cannot live in an echo chamber, although social media has made it so easy to live in echo chambers due to the systems like Reddit's karma system, where anything that people remotely feel threatened by will immediately be downvoted, anything that they feel challenged by. Twitter's like system, where it doesn't have downvotes, but if your post isn't very liked, then it's not going to get pushed in the algorithm. It's just made it very easy for people to kind of lean in one direction and only deal with people that are in that one direction. Hello, Shady Unmasked. Nice to see you. Welcome to the stream. But yeah, I think that this Ground News stuff is nice.
To stay informed, avoid echo
On paper.
chambers, and expand your worldview. High praise. Best of all, I am currently offering 40% off their Vantage plan, which is the plan I use to access all of their amazing features. This comes out to only like $5 a month, which is like the price of a coffee. So go to ground.news/shoe or use the QR code right there on screen, or the link in the video description down there to subscribe to Ground News today.
Wow, thank you, Shady. Thank you. I'm honored. I'm just starting out, doing the streaming thing and trying to get better day by day. Thank you very much. You are my first YouTube chatter, and you're the first person who has watched a stream of mine who has subscribed. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I feel like what they're doing is really important, especially right now, and it helps us approach the news in a more fair and balanced way. So thank you to Ground News for sponsoring this video, and thank you, the viewer, for not skipping the ad. Right?
Yeah.
Now, let's
Yeah,
get
right.
back to the video. With all these issues men are facing, they seem to be moving to the right and the Republicans more, since the left and Democrats have essentially just become the young men eat and die movement. Months ago, I covered how the Democratic Party was losing young men, and I predicted Kamala Harris would lose in part because of young men overwhelmingly voting for Trump. And I was correct. Well, now the Democrats have unveiled their final solution to the right-wing male loser epidemic. Democrats spending millions to learn how to speak to American men and win back the working class. Democrats have blown millions of dollars on efforts to appeal to American men who turned to President Donald Trump in droves on Election Day in hopes of winning back the working.
You see, this is something that's been talked about in political circles is that historically, the way to win elections used to be what was called the money economy, where you wanted to have a campaign that had a lot of money, and you wanted to have your campaign be able to have a much bigger budget than your opponents. And if you have more money, then you can have more marketing. You can have more people that you can hire to have boots on the ground that are knocking on doors and, you know, posting posters and doing all of this and that. You have more people that can handle your social media, et cetera, et cetera. So the way that you won elections in some ways was viewed as just have more money than the other guy, have a bigger campaign. And what happened with the last election is that Kamala Harris had, I mean, she broke records. She had a campaign that had, what was it, over $1 billion in her campaign, right? That people donated. So it was huge. Like she outspent Donald Trump by a massive amount. I think Trump's campaign was something like 500-600 million. So it wasn't even close. And yet Trump won, and Trump's marketing won. And the reason for that is because in the modern era, when you have things like these algorithmic based social media platforms like TikTok, like, you know, Twitter, like YouTube, it's not necessarily money that is going to get you more eyeballs. It's attention. And you have to have somebody who is very good at getting attention. And as you know, Donald Trump excels at that. And this is partly what makes him controversial. But that controversy is something that can help him. It's something that pushes him in front of the headlines, even in places that are, you know, like you look at a place like MSNBC. MSNBC does not like Donald Trump at all. That's probably one of the most left, you know, channels. And that's okay. It's okay to be left. It's just, it is what it is. And yet MSNBC did not shut up about Donald. Even back in like 2022, 2023, before 2024, they were talking about him constantly, everything that would happen. So it's not that, you know, the saying that people say, it's like there's no such thing as bad publicity. That's not true. You can see that that's not true because a lot of companies have paid dearly for bad publicity, and they try to avoid it. But it is true that there's a certain gray line where it's okay to stand out, even if it means that some people are going to think that you're partly controversial. It's okay because in the end, you are going to win the attention economy. And that's how they believe how Trump outmaneuvered in part in terms of marketing Kamala Harris, despite Kamala Harris having way more money.
Class. Democrats have spent $20 million on their efforts, with donors and strategists holing up in luxury hotel rooms, brainstorming how to convince working class men to return to the party.
And
Yes, nothing more relatable to working class men than luxury hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Great job, guys. The plan? Codename SAM, or Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan, promises to use the funds to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces.
Wow. So they're studying the people. They're studying the syntax, the way that people speak, the way that they maneuver themselves. And we're just gonna copy that. We're gonna put the code into somebody. They're just gonna run that code, and then everybody's gonna love us.
The effort also recommends Democrats buy advertisement in video games, among other things.
Yeah, like didn't Kamala Harris had that Fortnite level? She made a Fortnite level. It was called like Democracy. like Democracy Island or something like that. I forget exactly what it was called. And like, you know, it was Kamala Harris and like Tim Waltz, and you'd be able to go there. And the funniest thing about it is that, you know, this is Fortnite, right? The battle royale where you like shoot people and, you know, you kill people and eliminate people, and the last person standing wins. In Democracy Island, there were no weapons. The most American thing ever. There was no weapons. There were no guns in the gun game. Genius idea. You can see how well it went for them.
The Democratic Party is treating young men like exotic animals they're studying. Now, as you can see here is the young man in his natural habitat, in a dark, messy cave surrounded by Taco Bell wrappers and empty Mountain Dew bottles.
A1 hot sauce.
Here is another young man, as you can see, also dwelling in a dark cave. This one has dyed his hair blue to scare off potential predators. Unfortunately, it also scares off potential mates, but moving on, here is another young man, we think.
Yeah.
We're not quite sure about this one. We're still studying.
He also
it.
has blue hair.
Listen, Democrats, instead of spending $20 million to do that stupid maybe you should, I don't know, actually listen to men. I listen to men for free all the time. All I have to do is read my comment section. Let's see here.
Well, the problem with that is that men are toxic, right? You don't want to listen to toxic masculinity, right? That's bad. So what you want is you want to change men, and you want to make them less toxic. And this is exactly how Kamala would have won the election, right? That's what she was doing, right? Change men. You don't accept them for who they are. You change them. Make sure that they're less racist, less transphobic, less sexist, less misogynist, less ableist, less all the is, right? Make sure that they can't crack jokes about their friends and whatever silly conditions they have, because that's toxic masculinity. That's how you win, guys.
Shoe on Head is a perfect example of why we need to repeal the 19. Greetings from Albania. I hate women so much it's unreal. Ooh, shoo, mommy, milkies, 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 mommy, mommy, mommy. One time I got my penis stuck in a soda bottle. Okay, on second thought, maybe my comment section is not the best source.
Since Trump scored big with young male voters last election, Democrats are spending $20 million to learn how to speak their language. I think it's a waste of money. Maybe these guys should spend their money on teaching men to not be such sexists. Maybe.
Exactly. What did I just say about like 3 minutes ago? You don't know. You see, you can't listen to men because it's toxic masculinity. They're filled with it. You have to change men. You have to spend money trying to change men so they stop acting like toxic men, and they start acting like whatever Tim Waltz is. That's the recipe for success.
But the stats don't bear that out now. Look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America, but it's the feminization of men. There are a lot of young women out there that want to get married. They want to have kids. They want to have stable families. But there are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash.
Oh no. The very night I was...
See, I think that lady is right to some degree. It's true. But you see, we've always had people like that. Like we've always had guys who would just stay at home and just like, I don't know, fuck around and not go out. And maybe they have some sort of social issues, you know, they have some like extreme social anxiety or some sort of, you know, antisocial this or that. That's always been a thing. And you're always going to have that. One thing I always say is that evolution favors diversity, right? Evolution wants species, including the human species, to have a diverse amount of individuals, because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. There's going to be different environments, right? Like if you look at light-skinned people that have light skin, why do they have light skin? Well, it's because people that are light-skinned are from environments that are more northern, and there's less sun in some of these environments. And the human body needs the sun to be able to create vitamin D. And so If you have melanin, if you have, a dark skin, you're blocking some of that sun, which means you are partly blocking some of that vitamin D. And in an environment where there isn't much vitamin D to be made, having dark skin is not very useful at all. And so what happens? They don't make much they don't make much melanin. And they stay light skinned and they absorb as much of the sun as possible because there's barely any sun to be had. People that are dark skinned are from environments that are closer to the equator, where there's a lot of sun, a lot of heat, and a lot of ultraviolet radiation. There's too much. And so your body needs to protect itself from that radiation. Otherwise, you're going to get skin cancer. Your skin is going to age. You're going to get a bunch of, liver spots and moles and all this and that, tumors, all that stuff. So it's got to be able to protect itself, right? And so there's different traits for different environments. Another one is people that have shorter limbs, right? People that were from the north have shorter limbs because that allows them to retain heat better. When there's less space between you and your limbs and your parts and your torso and everything, you can huddle up in a way that's way more effective in retaining heat in cold environments. Meanwhile, if you're, in the equator, if you're in like some parts of Africa, you see people that have a lot of long limbs. Why? Because that helps in that environment better, right? When you dissipate heat better. You have curly hair, right, which allows the heat to be able to rise and not be impeded by your body. All of that. So there's different traits that you're going to have across a population. Evolution favors diversity because you don't want to put your eggs in one basket. And so you're always going to have men that are going to be highly social. You're always going to have men that are going to be very antisocial. You're going to have men that are very outgoing and want to go out and have, very, like a lot of social life, right? And then you're going to have men that are going to want to stay at home and, not want to talk to people. That's always been a thing. The problem is not whether these men exist. The problem is the trend. Are we getting more of these types of men? And if we are getting more of these types of men, that's not just, natural, evolutionary diversity. There's something else that's causing this, something else that's triggering it. And then we have to get to the bottom of it and see how we can resolve it. And that's the step that these people don't take. They don't care about that. They just go, shit's bad. I don't know. The palace is on fire. Being on fire sucks. But they don't care to think about, okay, mate, where's the water? Where's the nearest water? How do we get water? How do we get the firemen to come over here and put this out? How do we start helping out survivors? They don't give a fuck about any of that. They just say it's on fire. Shit sucks. I'm out. See ya. And we need to have more people that say, hey, we need to find a way to fix this. Because honestly, it's not good. Guys do need some level of socialization. Women do too. You don't want to live in an environment where you're constantly just being a shut-in. That's not healthy for you. You need to go out. You need to meet people. You need to have lives.
Sitting on my couch, writing the script to my video about how the Democrats are spending $20 million to relate to young men. This came on my TV on Fox News. A Tommy Lahren and Laura Ingraham segment about stay-at-home sons, men who still live at home. Literally minutes after this aired, it went absolutely viral on Twitter.
I saw
for
it there too.
Not good reasons. So we are going to unpack this piece by piece. Because even though everyone was mocking it and making fun of it, as far as I saw, nobody was really dissecting it and breaking down exactly why she was so egregiously wrong.
You always, like I said, and she's talking about the pickings are slim. You always have, okay, so first of all, we have to think about what are the standards, right? Like, what does she mean by slim pickings? Like, okay, think about it. What do women value, right? They value men that are healthy, they value men that are tall, they value men that are successful, right? So you have to ask yourself, they value men that are charming and caring, right? And protecting. So how much, if you think, I wish she could have gone into detail, right? Like, it's like, if the pickings are slim, you just have to think about it. Like, as a species, humans are taller than we've ever been. We are the biggest we've ever been. And the more you go back in time, the shorter we become, right? You could go back to a time where our ancestors were like 3 feet tall, literally. 3 feet tall, right? And slowly but surely we have gotten bigger and bigger, right? And so, like, I something tells me that if we take this lady to the year 500 BC, I don't think she's gonna like the men there, right? Like, because I feel like, if you look at it just from the dynamic of height, right? Let's just talk about height. The men that are in 500 BC are probably shorter on average than the men of today, right? So she's probably not gonna like that. And so you have to think to yourself: is it that things were better back then? Is it that things were better, or have the standards risen? And I think part of the problem is that the standards have risen. Like, I wish we could ask this lady, but you often hear and you see this in dating apps. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna date a guy that's below 6 feet tall, right? 6 feet tall. And so that's a number. We can work with that, right? What does that mean? 6 feet tall. So in order for this girl, who's probably like, by the way, who's probably like average height for a girl in the United States is, I believe it's like 5'4", 5'5". So let's say she's 5'5". The girl who's 5'5" needs a guy that's 6 feet tall, minimum, right? So let's look at the population of men. In order to be 6 feet tall, you basically, last I checked, you basically need to be in the top 15% of men to be 6 feet tall. The average height in the United States for the average healthy male is 5'9". So all of us, and by the way, this is the tallest humans have been. The average height of the global male across all of Earth, not just like rich, healthy countries like the United States and the UK and Germany and all that. The average height of the global man is, guess what? I'm gonna give you some time to guess. All right, 3, 2, 1. You know what it is? It's 5'4". That's the average height of the global man, and the average height of the global woman is even shorter. I think it's like 5 feet. And so I'm not saying these girls need to drop their standards for 5'4" or whatever. But what I'm saying is, if the average healthy man that you just see walk about, who's just at a construction site somewhere or whatever, at a club somewhere, is not good enough, and you have 100 American men, healthy American men, totally fine American men who all passed their physicals and are doing just fine. Out of those men, only 15 are dateable? What does that say? What does that even mean? Right? Like, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. Right? It's like, could you imagine if guys like just immediately, like decided that a girl has to have double E sized breasts, or they're instantly disqualified, and they're not, and then they go on a show like Fox News and say that there's slim pickings for women because most women do not have double E breasts. And if you don't have double E breasts, then you're a lesser woman and you are not worth dating. Could you imagine the sheer vitriol and hate that would be levied, or I don't know, that be launched against the man who would go on the news and say this? I mean, and that's just height. What about salary? How much of a salary do you? I mean, what does the average man in the United States makes? Like 55K, right? $55,000 a year, which is the most any man in the world makes. Any average man in the world makes. That the average American man is the most paid man in the world. Is the most paid average man in the world. If you compare the average American man to the average man in Egypt, the average American man is paid more, right? And that's accounting for stuff like him having to pay for health insurance, you know, and all of this that you may get in places like the UK and all of that. So it's like, how much do you think she needs as a woman? This lady that was on Fox News. You think she needs like what, like 60K? You think 60K would be good enough for her? I don't know. Cause 60K, that's probably like being like 5'9.5", right? In height. I don't know. Something tells me that she's probably more of a six figures kind of lady. $100,000 minimum, maybe 150K, you know? And so you dig into questions like these, like height, like success, how successful do you have to be? How much money do you have to make? How much this and that, right? And you start seeing that these people want exceptional men. And there has never, ever been a time where all men are exceptional, or all women, or all humans, period, are exceptional. All children are exceptional. The exception is the exception. It is a rarity. It is the outlier, right? Not everybody has Bill Gates level IQ. So I don't think these women are actually thinking about this, you know, reasonably. I don't think they're saying, look, men today are worse than ever. Men back in the day used to be exceptional. No, men back in the day used to be shorter. Men back in the day used to be poor, right? Men back in the day, there has always been an average man. The average is what you get because most people are average. And so if you think the average isn't good enough, then no matter what point in the history of Earth you go to, the average would have never been good enough. There would always have been slim pickings. I have a feeling that if you go to some like middle ages, you know, like, you know, kings and lords, England or whatever, you know, part of England in the Middle Ages, and you take some of these ladies, I bet you the only people they would want to date and the only people they would find acceptable to date would be the lords and the kings. Well, guess what? No matter what point in history you go to, the vast majority of people are not lords and kings. They're just regular people.
So come join me in debunking the male loser epidemic. Because who else better equipped to talk about men's issues than two stupid blonde bimbos? Hold on one second. 3 stupid blonde bimbos. Sorry. I felt left out. All right, let's go. Wait. I
She
need my
looks
gamer
nice with the
fuel.
blonde.
See? I do drink it. That one's for you, Tectone.
It's a major problem. And you know, Speaker Johnson has been talking about those maybe deadbeat folks that are on Medicaid, and maybe some of those folks are the stay-at-home sons. We don't know. But I'll tell you this, leave it to Gen Z to rebrand laziness and social awkwardness as something cutesy, like a stay-at-home son. But Laura, I gotta tell you, this is also a big problem when it comes to, I think, declining birth rates, people not getting married and having children. You know,
I'm gonna drop a big bomb right here. I'm just gonna nuke the whole area. I'm gonna say it. You know why birth rates are declining? It's because the natural process to make humans is being blocked. That's why. You put humans in an island. You grab, 13-year-olds or whatever, some Lord of the Flies shit, I don't know. You put them in an island. You leave them there. Maybe after teaching them how to hunt and survive for themselves. You leave them there, and you come back 25 years later. You know what you're gonna find? A lot more people. That's what's gonna happen. Nobody can deny this. The moment they hit puberty, they're gonna be going at it like bunnies. Because that's what nature wants. That is how the human body works. And maybe people don't want to hear this, but that is what it is. You know why nature wants us? You know why nature pumps us with all these hormones while we're going through puberty? It's because the best time to reproduce is when you have 0 miles. Because what ends up happening is as you get older, your body starts working worse and worse, right? You know, your joints start, not having as much fluidity, right? They start grinding a bit, right? Your back starts hurting, your bones aren't as strong, you lose bone density as you get older, right? Everything stops working as good, you know? But one of the things that gets worse the fastest is the parts of your body that reproduce the quickest. Because every time a cell reproduces in your body, it copies its DNA. And the way that it works is just like a printer, right? If you go to a printer and you grab a sheet of paper, has text on it, it's freshly, beautifully, pristinely printed, maybe even handwritten, right? It's pristine. And you put it to copy. It is going to get copied and it's going to look great. But if you grab that copy, not the original, that copy, and then copy it again, it's going to get slightly worse. And if you grab that copy, not the first copy, but the one you just made, and you copy it again, it's going to get slightly worse. And you keep doing it, and eventually, you're not even going to be able to tell what was originally written because it keeps degrading over time every time you make another copy. That's what happens to our DNA. That's why, and the DNA, and your genes, it holds the functions of your cells. So eventually your cells stop functioning as well as they used to. And guess what? Your reproductive cells are the ones that reproduce a lot. That puts them at great risk of essentially having abnormalities and issues and signs of aging and wear down and wear and tear sooner than other parts of your body. And so Mother Nature understands this. Evolution, if it was some sort of intelligent entity, understands this. And this is why it wants you to reproduce when you're a car and you're a brand new car and you're in the dealership and you have 0 miles. Because that is the best time for you to reproduce in terms of the genetic integrity and how healthy your cells are. You're a powerhouse when you have your youth. Right? And as you get older and you start reaching your 30s, all of a sudden everything starts getting worse. And the risk, even for a lot of people, hey Evelyn, a lot of people don't realize this, but even guys, when you reach 30, you can always reproduce as a guy. This is true as long as it works. You can always reproduce, but it starts getting worse and worse. And so once you reach 30 and you start getting older and older, all of a sudden the risk of autism in your child increases. The risk of having genetic diseases in your child, in your offspring, increases. And it all keeps increasing, getting worse and worse as you get older, right? This is why it's ideal for you to reproduce when you're, not old, right?
That's a big problem. They blame it on women. Well, look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America.
I'm good. We're just watching the shoe on head video about the male loneliness epidemic.
But it's the feminization of men. There are a lot of young women out there that want to get married. They want to have kids. They want to have stable families. But there are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash. And that's why we have declining birth rates and a lot of other problems in society.
Yeah, what I was saying was about this declining birth rates. And the reason why we're not having babies, I forgot to close it up, sorry. The reason why we're not having babies is because those systems are being interrupted and they're blocked. Now you have things like, the shot and you have the pill. If you look at the moment that the pill got introduced, immediately birth rates just cratered, right? They just started going down and down and down. And they keep getting worse and worse and worse. Now you have better stuff like the shot. And it's not like I hate this stuff. Like, my ex used to be on the shot, So like if we use this stuff, but it's just a reality. If you have all these tools that stop the natural processes that lead to reproduction, then you're going to have drastically reduced reproduction. The vast majority of people in all of history were born because people were just following their instincts. They're young, they're very fertile, they get very aroused, they meet somebody they like, stuff happens, next thing you know, they're pregnant. That's how most people, that's how I was made. It wasn't some like, oh, we're gonna plan this, and by the time you're 30, we're gonna have a that's a rarity. Most of the time, things are not planned, right? And when you reduce the vast majority of these instances, except the weird ones where they're planned, you're gonna reduce how many people are born. And the other thing is that people are now reproducing at later ages. They're reproducing. They go to college, right? Like you turn 18. Um, you turn 18, then you got to go to college, right? Then you go to college for like your master's degree. You come out by the time that you come out, you're like 24, 25. You know, if you're a doctor, you may have to do you may become a specialist, and you may spend 12 years in school before you're really out. And by the time that you're out, you're in your 30s. And when you're in your 30s, that's not the most ideal time, especially if you're a woman, to have babies due to, again, everything I just covered. So, life, our modern life, is making it hard. And the technology that we have is making it hard for nature to just be nature and for reproduction to just happen. And that's why it's happening. It's not none of this about the money, or you need a child health credit, a child tax credit. Oh, you need to have more child care places. Oh, the economy's got to be better. It's never been up. How the hell was the economy throughout most of human history? Probably not, nowhere near as good as it is now. Right? You don't need any of that shit. You just need to survive, and you need to be able to put food on the table. And that's the easiest thing. How do you think people are so damn overweight these days? You've seen people at like the local Walmart, they're huge. You don't get huge by starving, by not being able to put food on the table. So I don't think we're going to really solve this, because people are not really targeting the problem. And again, I don't think that they should ban, I'm not saying that they should ban like the shot or this or that, but we have to like be real, and we have to talk about it, right? We have to say, hey, this is why it's happening. Let's not play pretend, because if you play pretend, the solutions you're going to come up with are just going to lead you to dead ends. Am I feeling lonely? No. But I find this stuff to be pretty interesting. And it's something that I have a lot of empathy for young guys. I've known somebody who's kind of gone through this, who's a younger person. And I think it's a big problem. The more people talk about it, I think the more likely that people are going to come up with solutions.
It's time to go out, get a job, breathe the fresh air, meet people in real life. Let's just get back to basics.
So first of all, this stay-at-home son thing is not a real thing. It was a random throwaway, self-deprecating joke some contestant on Jeopardy said. One f***ing guy. Because I guess there's nothing else important going on that they could cover on the news. They literally made this into a fake phenomena so they can on young men. Meanwhile, Democrats are spending millions of dollars trying to win back young men. Oh no, the young men are leaving us in droves. How do we get them back? Don't worry.
I love how when she does her
oh no,
liberal her liberal cosplay, so to speak, she puts on a nose ring. I fucking love that. So apt.
The young men are leaving us in droves. How do we get them back?
A nose piercing.
Don't worry, I got this. Hey, you fat, lazy, Cheeto dust-covered slobs. F*** you. Nice. Thanks. I love you. I love you too.
Oh my god.
Is the amount of young men living home with their parents increasing? Yes. Is it because they're lazy bums and just want to order DoorDash all day? No. And also, they're not paying for DoorDash, Tommy. They're financing it. Come on. Get with the times.
Wait,
there are a
what?
lot.
DoorDash, Tommy. They're financing.
DoorDash partnered with Klarna to allow U.S. customers to split purchases into 4 equal payments. Wow. Customers can also postpone payments to match their payday schedule. Pay in 4 installments, interest-free. Wow. Pay in 30 days. Buy now, pay later. Wow. Eat now, pay later. That's great. Financing, pay over 6 to 36 months to pay for a DoorDash meal. What the fuck?
Enhancing it. Come on. Get with the times.
There are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash. And that's why we have declining birth rates. It's time to go out, get a job, breathe the fresh air.
Have either of you tried applying for a job as a young man recently? Or tried buying a house on the salary of one of these young men? Have you experienced the dating market, been on the dating sites as a young man? No? Interesting, okay. Just wondering. Listen, I know the average age of a Fox News viewer is like 70 nowadays and you need to pander to them, but Tommy, you are like 2 years younger than me. You know this shit isn't true. Why are you talking like this? Why are you talking like a f***ing boomer? I'm sorry, I have no other word for this, but I hate this like generational pick-me shit. I was born in the wrong generation. I'm not like those other young people. And you know what? She's not like those other young people. Not all young people can afford a nice nose job and lip filler and get a cushy job on Fox News based entirely on merit, I'm sure. The main problem with this brain-dead boomer-ass take is not only is it cringe, but it's completely divorced from reality. This slop is specifically designed for people who paid like $5 for a f***ing house. And listen, not all boomers, okay? My parents are boomers, they are lovely people. A lot of you guys are boomers, but when the baby boomer generation sends its people,
Hold on, let's
they
see
are
that.
lovely people. A lot of you guys
9.6%. Wow. 4%. 2%. 65 plus years. That's pretty cool, man. She has like 70-year-olds watching these videos. That's actually pretty cool.
are boomers, but when the baby boomer generation sends its people, it is not sending their best. They are not sending you. They're sending people who have lots of problems. They're bringing the housing crisis. They're bringing wage stagnation. They're falling for AI-generated photos on Facebook. But some, I assume, are good people. But my god, I truly believe they do not understand how good they had it. They could support a family on a single income. A single income from a job that didn't require a college degree. Their leaders didn't prostitute away their economic future for some cheap plastic shit from China. They inherited the greatest economy known to man, and they pretend it's a paradise that they earned. I just don't understand, like, why don't boomers and spiritual boomers like Tommy Lauren see people struggling and go, wow, I wish I could fix this. They should have it better than I had it. And you wonder why so many millennials and zoomers don't want—
It's because it's way easier to talk shit and criticize people than it is to provide constructive solutions. That's the only reason.
kids. I want to make the world a better place for my children. I want to make the world a better place for my children. Ugh. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you spoiled brat. Children. Not happening.
Well, look at what young women have to choose from.
And by the way, to be honest, I do think that this is some natural selection shit. Like, if you think about it, we have two biological imperatives as living organisms on this planet. We have two biological imperatives. One is survive. And everything we do is trying to achieve that. Two is reproduce. Because as an individual, the way that we survive is by not dying. As a species, though, the way that a species survives is through reproduction. So you got to keep the species alive. That means you have to make more babies. That's just how it works, right? And so you have two jobs, and somebody just goes out there and says, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing that. So to me, it's like, maybe it's good riddance, you know? Like, maybe they shouldn't be reproducing. Maybe leave the reproduction to the people who actually want it. I don't know. But then there's the other aspect is that something that people have said, and this is an age-old thing, is that whenever you have children, you grow as a person and you learn, right? And you experience something that you've never experienced before. And it is something that's so natural. And you become better and better. It's like being put in a job, right? And all of a sudden you're told, hey, here's a quick tutorial. You figure out the rest. And it's like, before you were at that job, you were fucking terrible at it. You didn't even know what the hell you were doing. You never even been in that job, right? But the moment that you're placed in it, you're given a tutorial, right? You read the tutorial, whatever, and then you start figuring it out. All of a sudden, you start getting better. You start learning. You start changing. You start becoming a better person because you're doing things better, right? So that's kind of how having children is. I mean, that's kind of like, man, in some ways, that's kind of like going to high school was. That's what going to middle school was for me, man. Dude, that was what going to the first grade was. Going to the first grade was horrible for me. It's a long story. I'm not going to talk about it now, but I had a lot of issues. I did not. I wanted to stay in kindergarten. I did not want to do this fucking. They had me doing timetables and shit, and like learning what 3 times 5 was. I wanted to go back to playing with Play Doh. No joke. And I threw a massive tantrum over, like, I don't know, 2 weeks trying to get back to kindergarten until it finally set in. So that's how we learn. You have to be challenged to learn, right? And I think that maybe these people are doing themselves a disservice by not having children. They're depriving themselves of something so natural, something that could make them greater as people and more empathetic, you know? It's a certain skill that we all have that we're not receiving. We're staying in this like permanently, like, like we're just pretending to be like 12 for the rest of our lives. It's, I don't know, it's weird, but that's how modern people are, I guess. Not sure how to feel about that.
Pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America, but it's the feminization of men.
Young men are becoming lazy because they're becoming feminized. So they're becoming lazy because they act more like women? What did she mean by this, chat? I know there's like a decrease in testosterone or something happening, but men are moving right-wing all over the world. Does that correlate with the feminization? Or, I mean, there are suspiciously a lot of far-right femboys, so maybe. But here's the thing, Tammy.
And by the way, like the loss of the testosterone thing, some of that's attributed to like some of the foods that we eat. Some of the foods that we eat, like some of the soy stuff has, it's made out of vegetable, like the soylent green stuff. It's made out of vegetables, and there's these types of nutrients that are more modern that we're kind of understanding better now. They're called phytonutrients, that are found in veggies, and these nutrients, they're really good for you. But the problem is that there are some of these nutrients that kind of mimic what estrogen does in the human body. And when, as a male, when you eat these, you start to increase your levels of basically estrogenic activity in your body. And you start becoming a bit more, like somebody who has a lot of estrogen, right? And that's something to think about. People also say that this is the reason why girls are having their periods earlier than ever. But there's research showing that actually periods are just returning to where they used to be. When people were way back in the day, when we used to have normal diets before we went into the whole farming craze, where it's like, oh, we only make potatoes here, so all we're eating 24/7 is potatoes, and forget about getting any other food and any other type of nutrient. All you're getting is potatoes because that's all we grow. Enjoy, right? All of a sudden, that sort of farming lifestyle made it harder for you to get all the nutrients that you needed. But if you go before that time, when we used to have more diverse diets, and we used to get the food that we needed in the earlier days, when we were nomadic, hunter-gatherers, periods actually started around the time that they're starting to start now. They started at 9 years of age. They started at late 8. And there's going to be some controversial thoughts about this. Some people may be thinking to themselves, I don't understand. Why would Mother Nature want a girl to have her period and become basically sexually mature, as in able to have babies, right? At the age of 8.8 or 9. I don't understand that. Well, it's because back in the day, all a female needed to do, and just people in general, it wasn't anywhere near as complex to live in a hunter-gatherer, nomadic society. You didn't need to worry about, insurance and I don't know, paying taxes and all the crazy shit that we have to worry about now. It was very simple. You help to clean, you help to cook, you help to take care of the children, and that was it. And that's something that you could start doing when you're 9. And so all of a sudden, people were reproducing at these ages. Guys started reproducing at 12, girls started reproducing at 9, and that's just how it went. That's how life was. People may find that controversial today because they've been taught that that's wrong or this or that, but that's how it was for the majority of our history. And supposedly the idea is that now we're getting to the point where we have all of this nutrition that finally the human body's returning to its healthy form that it used to have. We've escaped the dark ages of we only we only plant uh cucumbers here. And so we're eating cucumbers 24/7 for the rest of our lives. We've escaped that. Now we have more diverse diets. And so now we develop faster. And that faster is actually the normal level of development. So yeah, that's something.
There is absolutely no evidence that young women want to start families more than young men. None. In fact, all the data says the exact fing opposite. According to Pew Research, 64% of women younger than 50 say they just don't want to have children. No reason, they just don't want them. Versus 50% of men who say the same. Another study by
Dude, that's horrifying. That's crazy. So like that the most natural thing has become controversial and not something to want. Even for like women who have a motherly instinct, right? And women who are seen as more easily empathetic towards, the little ones, right? They have all of these maternal instincts that drive them, and yet they don't want to have the little ones. Modern humans are it's interesting how technology has affected us and made us very unnatural, I'd say.
Archbridge Institute shows the same. 63% of women without children said they have no desire to have a child, while only 50% of men said the same. For men, the most commonly cited factor was personal finance, but among women, the strongest reason not to have a child was their desire to maintain their personal independence.
Wow. So they just kind of want to be like, you just want to be independent. You don't want to have to worry about children. You want to be able to go out to the club and and do this and that whenever you want. And yeah, I mean that's understandable. Hell, throughout I would say most of my young life I was in that mindset. Oh, well, do you think it's best for the pollution to what to have a lot of people? Like the population? Well, what we're doing now is not good for pollution and global warming. Like I would say, our system of, capitalism, anything that's like post anything that came after during the industrial age is bad. It's bad. And we are bad. I mean, I'm somebody who's very realistic about this. Like we have wiped out so many other by the way, we are animals. We are a species. We are great apes. We are Homo sapiens sapiens, right? That's the reality. We're not gods. We're animals. We're living organisms, just like every other living organism, right? And if you think to yourself, well, we should share the planet with our fellow, with the other fellow species, our fellow mammals, and our fellow living organisms, then maybe we shouldn't be wiping them off of the earth. Maybe we shouldn't be like literally genociding them. um, but the thing is that humans are very self-centered. This is part of what makes us very good at surviving, I'd say. We're very self-centered, so we don't really care. Um, I care to some degree. I realize this, and I realize that that makes us the bad guys. But most people don't want to look at themselves as the bad guys. They're totally happy, like to just have everything. As long as life is convenient for them, it's good. Like over here where I live, there's a lot of bears. There's bears. There's like there's panthers. There's armadillos. There's all these animals. There's a bunch of squirrels and like rabbits and this and that. And ever since the COVID uh, pandemic came, we have had all these people moving over here, and that's resulted in a lot more houses being built. So all the trees are being cut down, and I see that. I see that the trees are being cut down, and I understand what's happening. Like when you cut down the trees and you wipe out all of the land, right? You're killing so many organisms that you can't even see. Bacteria, single-celled organisms, multi-celled organisms. You're getting rid of, food sources, plant life that the bunnies eat. All of this and that. And I'm not a tree hugger. I'm just a realist. I just tell it like it is. And so why are we doing this? So we can build more malls. So we can have another Gucci bag place where we sell Gucci bags, right? The bears are being driven out of their home because we just don't give a fuck. That's what humans are. That's what humans do. They don't care. Well, most of them don't care. As long as they get something out of it. Oh, I get a house out of it. I get, malls that are closer, and I don't have to drive into the city as much. That's what they care about. We are predominantly predominantly self-centered. Um, and I'm okay with that. If that's the nature of man, that's the nature of man. I just don't like the people that like to pretend that man is some sort of, oh, we're so nice and we're so caring, and we take care of the we're the guardians of earth, and we protect everything, and like, oh, we treat everything equally. Like, it's a bunch of bullshit. Those people are delusional. Um, but so here's what I think to answer your question. Do you not think it's best for pollution? So here's the thing. There's two strategies, right? You can think to yourself, we have to stop what we're doing with all the rampant capitalism. And I don't hate I love capitalism. I think capitalism is great. And the thing that I love most about capitalism is how it gives you freedom. I love freedom. I love being free to do what I want. I love the idea that I live in the United States and I can just buy a home and I can just sit outside on my porch, and it's just, I can just be an old man, just rocking on my rocking chair. And if some stupid kids, I just there with my shotgun, and some stupid kids want to walk all over my flowers or my garden or whatever, or my grass, I tell them, get off my lawn. And they got to get off my lawn. They got to get the flip off, and I love that because it's my property and people should respect my property. The kids can run into public property, which is, the fucking curb, and the, I forget what you call it, but you know what I mean. So I love that. I love freedom. I love personal freedom. I just do. Um, but I'm also a realist. And so I'm looking at it realistically. So there's two strategies. If you want to start protecting the earth, then you got to stop with all the capitalism. You really do. You have to wind all of this industry down. You have to wind down. You have to get people to stop reproducing. You have to get people like we have to lose people, right? Where our population can't keep increasing. It has to go down, right? People, and so what is that going to cost? Realistically, it's going to cost a lot of people to die. A lot of human beings are going to die. There's going to be a lot of starvation. The countries may collapse. The economies are going to crumble because the economy needs to continue to grow to be healthy. It needs to be booming. And whenever there's a recession, bad things happen. Whenever there's a bust, horrible things happen, like the Great Depression. I'm sorry, whenever there's a depression. And so that first strategy is gonna cause untold death. It is gonna cause massive human horror. It is gonna it could even destroy some nations, and it is gonna be awful. And not everybody's gonna do it. You're gonna have countries like Russia that are just gonna be like, "Fuck that, we're not doing that." China is gonna be like, "Fuck that, we're not doing that," and then they're probably gonna take over, right? Because they're gonna come out stronger than everybody else that's doing that. So that's strategy one, and that's essentially what you're saying. What's more in line with what you're saying, where you're saying it, we shouldn't reproduce because of the pollution, right? Strategy number two is this, and this is the strategy that we are actually applying in practice and have been for since like the industrial age, and that's we will outgrow our problems. And the way that we do that, it's just like it's the same way like that the US government tries to, like, if we continue growing our economy, then the debt that we have is going to become more manageable, right? Because we're going to be making more money, we're going to have more people, more taxpayers, we're going to have, everything's going to be good, our currency is going to be healthy, all of this and that. So the idea is this. Eventually, we're going to develop technology that is going to allow us to undo the damage that we've done. We're going to be able to, like, I don't know, have a device that lets us grow trees just like that. Have a device that lets us bring back species that have become extinct. Have a device that allows us to terraform. We might be able to go in and terraform Mars and turn it into this green, beautiful world or something like that. That is the strategy that we're actually using in practice. That is the capitalism strategy. That's the keep pushing as hard as you can, and hopefully we are going to get if you want that band protection. Yeah. um that is the strategy that we're on. And I think that if you are on that strategy, just like Elon, I know a lot of people don't like Elon, but just like Elon Musk says, you need more people. You need smart people, right? You need more people. You need more economic activity. And if you want the economy to grow, then you need to have people reproducing. you need to have more people because there needs to be more houses. So there can be more workers that make houses. And if you want more workers that make houses, then you're going to need to have more babies that are going to grow up into workers that make houses, right? And you're going to need to have people that are going to buy those houses. So you need to have more babies that are going to eventually grow up to be people that can buy houses, right? And that goes for every section of the economy. Why don't they clone smart people? We don't have the technology. The technology doesn't exist. There is some basic cloning technology that has been around, but it's not really. There's a lot of laws that are against human cloning, and it's not well developed for that sort of thing, and it would open a can of problems too. So that's essentially of the two strategies, which is shrink and have untold human horror and death and despair, in order to get to the point where you have like reduced the human species from like 9 billion or whatever it is now, 8 billion, down to like 1 billion or less, to make room for for healing the earth, right? It's either that or just become so powerful that we achieve godlike powers and are able to, terraform and create new worlds and expand, earth itself. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'm not too familiar with that. I do know that there's laws against that sort of stuff though. Um, so yeah, that's basically it. So if you're in the capitalism train, then you should be very happy. Well, theoretically speaking, and then you should be okay with reproducing, because that's what's going to contribute. I mean, if you think about it logically, if you're on the we should like everything should like be like the Great Depression train, then yeah, you should be. You probably want less people to be here, but that's going to make you the bad guy because a lot of people are going to die. You're going to fail to provide enough food. The economies are going to crash. And it's just going to become a grinder of death and horror that the people who think like that don't actually foresee it. Because if they knew that this is what was going to happen, they wouldn't be saying the things they do. Um, so yeah, it's a complicated issue. But the answer is to reproduce. I think the answer is to reproduce. That's the current game plan.
Basically, they don't want to give up their brunch and mimosas. They've been ass blasted with propaganda their whole lives,
Yeah.
telling them their lives will be ruined, their bodies will be ruined,
Yeah.
they'll never have fun again, they'll be miserable forever.
I know of people. Don't you think we should stop the population increasing? No. No, we shouldn't. No, because when the population stops increasing, we are gonna have an economic meltdown. We need new people. In order for the economy to grow, we need more people. We need more services. We need more employers. We need more economic activity. Less people causes less economic activity. That's less workers. That's less new businesses. And it will be less food, by the way. And you will lose economies of scale. If you don't know what economies of scale is, economies of scale is essentially whenever you buy something, like let's say you're Walmart and you're buying carrots, because you're Walmart, you know you're going to sell a lot of these carrots. So you will buy in volume, right? You will buy a lot of carrots. You won't just buy one or two to sell. You're going to buy hundreds, maybe thousands of carrots, right? And what that does is that you get a discount because you're buying a lot and you're reliable, right? And economies of scale is essentially when there's so much economic activity and there's such an efficient production that the pricing of everything decreases. If you look back at how expensive it was to create smartphones back in the day in terms of factories and the investment in the R&D and everything, everything has been optimized now to the point where it's much cheaper to produce a smartphone today than it was in 2007. That's economies of scale, right? What about the trees and the pollutions? We'll like grow it. That's the plan. As I said before, that well, I'm not gonna say we will outgrow it, but the plan is that we will outgrow it. There's this thing that shows France. It shows France from like uh a satellite picture view, and it shows that like something like 80% of France's natural wildlife Natural fauna of trees and plants has been completely wiped out throughout the ages. It's gone because, people back in the day and today chopped all the trees. Right? And that's what happened. And that's just what's going to happen. Um, so basically, it comes down to this: it is better to continue growing and have more economic activity than it is to slow down. Because the moment that we slow down, we're going to have uh, a Great Depression or worse. And that's going to come at the cost of trees, and that's going to come at the cost of a lot of things. But as we continue developing our technologies, we are going to get better. You can imagine a future where we can just 3D print trees. Well, no, because then a lot of people are going to die. If you stop the population, a lot of people are going to die. That's what's going to happen. There's a lot of people who are going to die, and there's a lot of people who are going to need help, and they're not going to get it. And I don't think that, that's something that people want. So I don't think that's why it's going to happen. I think the stopping the population from growing. Thanos was right. Well, see, I know that Thanos was the bad guy in the Avengers, but I did not see the Avengers, so I don't know. I don't know everything about what he was trying to do. But I know he was a bad guy, and I know that like people like him. Yeah. I only watched the first Avengers, and I watched Iron Man, the first Iron Man, and I watched the first Thor movie, and one of the Spider-Mans, and that's it.
if they have children. And as someone who has had a children, best decision I've ever made. 10/10, highly recommend, would do it again. But yes, this idea that men are the ones primarily responsible for the low birth rates is laughable. We're laughing over here. But honestly, it's not really women or men's fault. There are a lot of factors that play into this. But Tommy, I really gotta ask, is it men or is it you?
This is gonna be the summer of canceling boys. All of my friends are attractive. All of my friends are successful. All of my friends have something going on. Almost every single one of them have an issue with men. But if all of these women, including myself, are having issues, then I have to think, it might not be us. It might be you. It is not just the guys in Los Angeles, Nashville, Dallas, and they're not any better in the Midwest. Quite frankly, I think they're trash all over this country.
My friends are successful. Men don't give a shit about that. They'd marry a Walmart cashier if she was nice to them.
I think men between the ages of 20 and 30 are not ready, in most cases, for marriage, are usually not ready to be husbands and fathers.
That's a cultural issue. So, look,
no, I would actually.
Oh, so you think so it's not a cultural issue? You think this is a biological issue? Well, first of all, marriage isn't a biology thing. That's just some social evolution shit that we devise to try to make it more reliable to find out whose baby it is. Basically, you lock down a woman so she's not with other men, so hopefully the kid she pops out is yours. That's what marriage is about. But it's not like humans are not and this is gonna, I'm saying a lot of controversial things. Humans are not, what is the term? It's monogamous. Humans as a species are not monogamous. We don't just, we're not like those birds that like find a partner and you're with that partner forever, and when the partner dies, you never are with anybody ever again because your partner died. I forget the name of the bird, but that's not us. That's not what we do. Humans they can be both with one partner, but they can also be with multiple partners. It's more of a fluid thing. And that's the reality of our biology. So I don't know. I think that this lady is just, I think her standards are just inflated. I think she's just somebody who's high up. Obviously, this lady is very successful. She had said that she had surgery on her nose or whatever, and lip fillers and this and that. So she must be quite wealthy to be able to afford all that. And so if she looks at the average man who's like in their 20s, I'm sure that average man is not good enough for her. Right? Just alone in terms of salary, it's probably not good enough for her. So I think this lady's just probably divorced from the average people.
Back to your point, I think it's a biological thing.
So let me get this straight. Men are all trash.
Evelyn, do you mean do you mean Shoe on Head, which is the YouTuber here, or do you mean this lady? You mean that lady?
Back to your point, I think it's a biological thing.
So let me get this.
So she did say it's a biological thing. It's a biological thing that men are not ready to marry. I mean, marriage isn't a biological thing, so I don't know. A green one? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I don't even know that argument even matters. I think what are the standards? What is it that she means? You know, what is it that man can't do? You know, what makes women supposedly able to marry in their 20s, but men not able to marry in their 20s or not ready to marry? I don't know.
Straight. Men are all trash and won't commit and won't leave mommy's basement, and they're destroying the birth rates. But also, young men are biologically incapable of commitment and being parents. What? But wait, there's more! She also believes women don't have to bring anything to the table.
And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make
Sacrifice his
money.
life.
But I don't think a man needs to get something out of it to be a manly man, a protector and a provider.
Right. A man doesn't have to get anything out of their relationship. You know, not even a text message of the lady saying, "Hey, I hope your day was great. How was work? You know, how are you? Good morning." A kiss in the morning, you know, a hug. No, nothing. They don't even need to live in the same place. They don't even need to see each other. He just needs to be like a bank account for the lady. The guy should get nothing out of it.
If you think you need to
nothing.
get
So you
something
should
out
have
of
nothing.
it, I quite frankly don't
so
consider you a
nothing.
real man.
Never before in history have women demanded so much and offered so little. So before we get deeper into this retarded, manufactured, stay-at-home son narrative, let's check the Facebook comments of this Fox News video, because I am
Facebook?
really interested to see
That takes
what
me back.
like the typical Fox News viewer thinks about this. If
Oh,
the women are anything
the
like these
typical
two,
Fox News viewer would use Facebook. That's true.
I can hardly blame the men for staying home and not wanting to date them. Blame.
That's true.
These two women have a combined age of 93 and they have 0 children between both of them.
A combined age of 93 and 0 children between the both of them. Oh my God, what a roast. Too good, man.
Him. You both have repugnant personality types, so listening to this was like male birth control to me. My goodness! Boomers are ruthless! Bunch of sissies. I served 6 years, 2 years in Southeast Asia after Vietnam was over. When I was 18, rent was $450 and I could afford to get my own place. She's so spot on. Nothing screams I'm a loser run from me than a guy living at home in his parents' house with his 12-year-old boy's bedroom decor at age of 30. Thank God we raised our sons to be men, who grew up, lived on their own, found their soulmate, got married, bought a beautiful home, and started a family. I was out the door at 18, worked on the assembly line at Dodge and in the Air Force at 19, never went back home. I can't relate to this.
Yeah.
Yes, we know you people.
You know what happened to the assembly line? They were shipped overseas. That's what happened. Remember that?
People can't relate. We know, but the world has changed. Why can't you people get this through your heads? I will never let my sons stay home. I'm trying to push them out of the nest. Okay, I really gotta ask, is this an Anglo thing? Immediately kicking your kid out when they turn 18 years old?
Yeah,
My
that's-
Mediterranean mind cannot
is-
comprehend this. And honestly, why the f would a man...
That is something. Bro, what about reading Insta comments of random famous video? I can't say I do that. I can't say I do that. The most I've done is like TikTok. If TikTok actually like recommends a video, I'm always very interested in comments, to be honest. I like reading the comments. I find it entertaining. This is kind of why I do use Reddit, even though I hate Reddit. It's because Reddit usually has comments about even like websites that don't have a comment section, or like a YouTube that has like comments disabled, you know, and then I can find the Reddit like thread for that YouTube video and actually see people commenting about it. But yeah.
Leave home, leave his mother's cooking for a woman...
Oh yeah, and by the way, this is true. See, so I am Latino, right? Like my family's of Latino descent. And it's all about the family. It is all about la familia when it comes to Latinos. Like there's like that funny example of like the Mexican dad, and like, you know, the Mexican dad is gonna allow like his son to move back in, and the daughter's like, but dad, he's a cartel member, he's a killer, and he's, you know, he like decapitates people, you know, in front of like Mexico City and this and that. And the dad just goes, yeah, but he's familia. Right? Yeah, sure, he's not perfect, but he's family. And it's all about the family. And that's something that I think is more alien to Americans. Like the whole idea that you have your parents, and now your parents, like, they need help because they're older, they're geriatric, you know, and you take your dad or your mom and you throw them in a home, in a nursing home, and you just leave them there. Like that is heresy for Latinos. That is absolutely, like, how could you do that? That is the most heartless fucking thing ever. To just throw your parents in a home. Like, they're the ones who are changing your diapers. They change your diapers so that when they get older, you change theirs. They support you so that when you're older and you're capable of supporting people, you support them. You're a unit, right? And that is something that is so lost in the US. It's like, oh, family is only about like the immediate children that you have. Your kids are your family. And even like the surrounding family, you're not really that close with it, you know. Oh, they live in another state or this or that. And then your kid turns 18 and then you kick them out, and it's like, go leave. I don't want you here, and I don't know, whatever. And then maybe we'll occasionally talk. Maybe I'll occasionally comment on your Facebook or something. And it's just very, very cold. And I understand why, because I, you know, like, I mean, I'm from here, but but I don't know. It's also very strange to me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like some Fast and Furious shit. And I don't know, man. Like in Asia, it's the same thing where like the kids actually like stay with the parents even when they're going to college and stuff. And then like they can get married, and like you know, like the fiance, like she's like staying with the parents too, and it's like it's a big dynamic, you know, thing. Um it's just not like that here. And it's strange because I think that familial bonds are like the strongest bonds you can have. To just throw that away is just, I don't know.
Who probably can't cook. Not me though. Personally, I can cook amazing homemade meals. I'll have you know I am a great trad wife.
Oh no. Oh no.
Bone apple teeth.
Now, unfortunately, Tommy Lauren wasn't the only one pushing this stupid lazy young men go get a job bullshit. Mike Johnson did it, referencing 29-year-old men playing video games all day. Steve Scalise did it with 35-year-old men playing video games all day. And just the other night, I saw this on my TV.
Is it gonna be 45-year-old men playing video
Wall
games?
Street Journal headline got our attention. The new dream job for young men, stay-at-home son. It's a phrase that's taken off since 27-year-old Brendan Leo won $59,000 on Jeopardy. And he has a master's degree in political science, but he's unemployed. Grow up, get a job, get a wife, build a family.
Just get a wife, bro. Just get a job, bro.
He went to college though. He's got a master's degree. Like, and he won Jeopardy. Like, the dude's a sharp dude. Like, so what?
Yeah, just get a job. Why don't I strap on my job helmet and squeeze down into a job cannon and fire off into jobland, where jobs grow on jobbies?
The term welfare queen must have fell out of fashion with Republicans, because it seems even they know the approved safe demographic to.
So you disagree, Evelyn? You disagree? You think that, like, you don't like what I said about family?
Go after now, because it's very obvious what demographic they are talking about when they say young men in their basements playing video games. This just get a job lazy attitude is not surprising, but it's especially funny coming from Fox News of all places. Fox News that spends so much time yapping about immigrants taking American jobs. Fox News will talk for years about how Americans are being screwed out of the workforce. But when this issue manifests itself in Gen Z, suddenly it's a moral failure.
Yeah.
The fact is, a lot of American jobs held by men are being lost to automation, offshoring, and yes, cheap foreign labor. Companies and billionaires would rather have cheap labor that they can essentially abuse, not pay fair wages to, just good little work.
And by the way, I hope, I hope everybody understands this, but companies don't care about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They're not your family. They're using you as a tool. You're there to do a job. They don't care. So this idea that people have is like, oh, well, the company doesn't want me to have a baby, or they don't want me to get pregnant. Like, fuck them. Fuck the company. You do what's good for you. If you want to have a baby, you go ahead and have it. If your boss is like, oh, we don't think you should get pregnant because we don't want to have to give you maternal leave or this, or that. Fuck that. Hey, Zoe. But yeah, fuck that. Like, fuck them. You do what's best for you. And if you have to leave and find another job, then leave and find another job. These people, like, you know how they like the thing where it's like, oh, yeah, if you're going to find another job, oh, please you got to give us a 2-week notice. You have to give us a 2-week notice. That's actually what's important. That's what a good worker does. When you're getting fired or laid off, do they give you a 2-week notice? Do they? Do you think Microsoft, when they fired the 9,000 people that they just did in their latest round of layoffs, do you think they gave them a 2-week notice? There were stories of people that didn't even know they were getting fired until the very day they got fired. They don't give a shit about you. They're not going to give you a 2-week notice. They're not going to do what's like professional or like, what good manners or whatever, good etiquette. Fuck that. So if you're okay with burning bridges, don't give them 2 weeks notice. Don't give them shit because they're not going to give you shit. Yeah, yes, I had a son and he turned 18. I will tell him to get a job, to get the house and find some women to marry her and start your own family. I have my man. We had each other. That's how I will make my son a man and also be independent. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I mean, that's American culture, and cultures are very different, Every culture, if cultures are like it's just like a taste thing, you know? Like some people say that orange is the best fruit, some people say that it's strawberries, some people say that it's pears, some people say that it's like, I don't know, bananas. And a lot of people think that it's all of these, right? And you're never going to have everybody that agrees. But I do think that it's okay personally for family to take care of each other. My grandpa, like he took care of me. And then when he was in his geriatric days, we took care of him. We didn't put him in a home. Um, and I feel very good about that. Eventually he was in a wheelchair and we helped him out just like he helped us, just like he helped me. He used to change my diapers when I was a baby. So, like I don't have a problem with helping him. And I think that ideally in my world, that's how I think it should be. But I understand that some people think differently. Um, that's good, Zoe. Yeah.
Worker drones who won't unionize rather than hire American workers for a living wage. The cheaper the labor they hire, the more money they make. I remember when Bernie Sanders called open borders a Koch brothers conspiracy.
Open borders?
Open
borders. That's a Koch brothers proposal, which says essentially there is no United States.
But it would make a lot of
me.
the global poor richer, wouldn't it?
And it'd make everybody in America poor. Then you're doing away with the concept of a nation state.
Yep.
Where'd that guy go? A lot of these jobs being taken are jobs traditionally held by men, like construction.
That was literally based, Bernie. That was based, Bernie. He you don't see it every day, but he's out there every once in a while. He does say something fucking great.
And factory jobs, manual labor work. But it's not just manual labor jobs, it's also the tech industry and business industry, which are careers also mainly held by men. There are many, many examples of this, such as Microsoft recently cutting thousands of American workers
that's what I was
while
just talking
requesting
about.
14,000 more H-1B workers this year. Some of those job positions include data.
You can say it's a culture thing, but it's the way to live in in caveman era. They also do this. Did they? I don't think that's true. Or maybe they did under certain occasions. I don't know. I would have to know. Like it depends exactly when are you talking about. Because if you go far back enough, it was just kind of us in a tribe, and like you just kind of lived in the tribe, and so you were not gonna kick. The only reason you kick people out of the tribe is when you wanted them to die. You know, you're like what is the term? You ostracize them because they've done something bad. And obviously, if you leave the tribe and it's just you out in the woods, your chances of survival are slim. Something's gonna kill you. It's hard to survive by yourself. So it was kind of a death sentence.
Scientists, which are 70% men, software developers,
Well,
which
this is
are
because of
80%
racism.
men.
This is clearly racism. The distribution of software developers are majority males. I mean, you know that if you ask a little girl what she wants to be, she's gonna immediately say, I want to learn how to program in C sharp. I want to learn C++. I want to learn how to program. That's what ladies like. They like programming. They don't go, oh, I want to be a movie star, or I want to be a singer, or I want to be, some I don't know, fashionista or something. They say, uh, I want to be a software developer and I want to learn Java. If he survived, he is a man. Oh, it's hard. Being realistic, it's hard to survive on your own. We are a social species for a reason. We're like ants. We don't work alone. We live in complex societies. That's where we are at our strongest. If you just grab a man and just throw him alone somewhere, it's not gonna go well. Um, Not saying it's impossible to survive, but the chances of it are way lower. You want to be a singer and actress too? Exactly, exactly. Being an electronic engineer is not something that women find interesting. Engineering is not something that, as much as men, on average, they don't find that interesting. Um, and that's okay because men and women have different tastes. Women love being nurses. Nursing is a big thing for women. Guys don't want to be nurses as much. That's okay. You shouldn't have to force guys to be nurses just because most guys don't want to be a nurse. Women love being kindergarten teachers. Look at the rates of kindergarten teachers between men and women. The vast majority are women, and that's okay too. And you can see kind of why is because women have a maternal instinct, and so they have a great affinity for children on the level that on average men don't. And that's fine. Look at how many women want to be construction workers. Ask a little girl if she wants to be a construction worker when, when she grows up. Does she want to be digging trenches, at a construction site? Is that something she wants to do? I bet you if you ask 10 girls, 9 out of 10 of them will say they don't want to do that. They want to do something else, and probably something more feminine. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And electronic engineers, which are 90% men, and many more like that. Another example of this was Tesla, where roughly 15,000 American employees were fired in April 2024, and many were replaced with...
And this is a common thing. Microsoft does this too, where they fire American workers and they replace them with H-1B visa workers who come here to do a job. And those workers come from places like India, right? And the thing is that if you think about it, for software engineering, right? For the longest time, and I think it's still the case now, the starting wage for somebody who just graduated 4 years, has a bachelor's in computer science, which is what you want for software engineering, the starting wage was $60,000 a year in the US. And it's been that since basically around 1999 or so in the dot-com bubble. Where software engineers became a very in-demand occupation. And the salaries that they pay to H-1B visa workers at that same job with that same 4-year education, but they're coming from India and they're coming from all these places, they pay $50,000. They pay $48,000. They pay $46,000, not to $60,000. So they're saving money by hiring H-1B visa foreigners and firing American workers who cost more pound for pound than a foreign worker. And I mean, you have to as people, as Americans, we have to look at that and say, hey, this is kind of like we're being treated like shit. We're being treated badly. You know, like these companies are firing our people so they could hire foreigners. And it's not that foreigners are bad. We need foreigners. Foreigners are good, especially very talented foreigners, smart foreigners. Like some of the foreigners that worked in the Manhattan Project, you know? Albert Einstein. He wasn't a Native American. I mean, somebody who was natively born here. He was a foreigner, right? And so we want sharp people, but at the same time, you don't want to have people that are Americans who go to school here and have to pay the rates here and live here to get replaced by foreigners who are going to be paid a fraction of what you get paid. And they're going to be happy because they're going to take that money back to India or wherever and be essentially rich over there. It's just not, it's they talk a lot of people talk a lot about like positions of power and the power dynamics and how like, oh, a man shouldn't date a woman if he's like making more money than her or whatever, because like now he's in a position of power which can lead to abuse. What about the position of power that companies have? What about this shit? You know, this shit shouldn't be okay. Like then you imagine yourself as a nurse because they're really beautiful. They are. They are. My ex was a nurse. Yeah, exactly. I don't support this kind of thing. You built this company here. U.S. citizens help you with that, and you're firing us. What the hell? Yeah, exactly. What comes America first? Absolutely, absolutely. You're an American company. You're an American soil. You should be thinking of Americans first. Companies should exist to make uh to make the world better for the people, right? They should provide value for the people, right? And that also goes for employment. I certainly think so.
H-1B visa holders. On Twitter, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy tried to chalk this up to these immigrants just simply being the best and the brightest. Yeah, okay. You're paying them less.
They're the best and the brightest. That's why we're paying them less than the average American in this job. That's why. That's why they get paid less. Uh-huh.
For longer hours and more work.
Is my ex beautiful? I think she was very, very beautiful. I this would be in poor taste, so I can't show her picture. Um but I thought she was very beautiful. And as I talked earlier, like she didn't wear makeup, you know, and she was just gorgeous. No, I can't. That would be very rude. I'm sorry. Um yeah, and I don't think she'd like that either because she likes her privacy. But yeah, this is like a public thing, so I can't. You can't just like I don't know. I wouldn't even want to show like my family members and stuff like that here, without their permission. No, no, no. She wouldn't want that. I gotta respect her wishes.
And they're willing to deal with it in order to stay in the country. It's coercive, exploitative, and, dare I say, not very America first. When conservatives
Exactly.
confronted Elon Musk for this last year,
And these
he
companies
told
are not
somebody,
America
and I
first.
quote,
They're them
"Take
first.
a big step back and yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend."
So
When it
this,
comes
what
to-
is this
I will
about?
go to-
The reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of H-1B. Yeah, H-1B is good, but I think that H-1B would be better if it had high standards and it didn't displace American workers who are equally talented. Take a big step back, and I'm not saying everybody's equally talented, but if you have an equally talented American and you have an H-1B visa person who is equally talented, right? At least in terms of the resume and the interview and all that, you should favor the American. That's how I think it should be. You should favor America first. You shouldn't want for, somebody who's like, again, from India or whatever, nothing against India, and then grab that money and then send it back to India. You want that money to be spent here, right? You want that money to cycle into our economy, right? And I don't think these companies care. I think the only thing they care about is their bottom line. They're like, in some ways, they're parasitic. I believe that. Take a big step back and F yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. I mean, you do that. You do that, Elon. And, sometimes I agree with Elon, sometimes I don't. I think H-1B is important. I just think there needs to be better standards. There's like, I believe there's like stuff where they show that they even have H-1B visa workers who were like take jobs at like 7-Eleven. They're not, it's not even like highly, like engineer or like focused scientist or this or that. Just like they're just taking regular 7-Eleven and like minimum wage jobs. Why do we need that? Why do we need somebody to come from the third world to work at our 7-Elevens? I don't I don't think that's good. That's a job that could have gone to a teenager who's trying to get his life going, who's trying to get his first job. Who is showing what? By the way, what you want to say on China and US war? Um I don't have anything to say about that right now. I don't think we're going to go to war. You mean the trade war, or did something happen? Who is more powered? Well, militarily speaking, we are. But China's trying to do their best to catch up. And China does have one advantage that the US doesn't have, and that's that China has vastly way more people. Like vastly way more people. That's a big strength. But we have better technology, and we have a way better trained military. We have way more experience, and we have the biggest military budget and spending. So we're doing pretty well. And in terms of defense, we actually, like, the United States is like untouchable in terms of like trying to mount some sort of invasion or something like that. We're basically untouchable. Like we have so many defenses, it's crazy. So we're pretty privileged here in the United States, I'd say, from that perspective. Of course, I don't think it's gonna get to that point. At least I hope not. Right? Um, we were loyals to you. We don't care who is talented or what. We are talented. We know how to run and help the U.S. to grow more. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, Evelyn. No, I heard somewhere war started between two countries, India and Pakistan, where China is supporting Pakistan. Oh, right. Yeah, the India Pakistan kerfuffle. I don't know why U.S. and China is interfering. Well, uh, India and China do not get along. They're both up and coming powers. They're both developing at a great speed, and are economies that are becoming very strong and very capable. And they're both in Asia. So there's like land disputes and there's all this and that. There's some China is like, oh well, you're gonna do business with us. You're gonna pick sides with us, and that means you can't do business with India and this and that. And so there's just like an antagonistic relationship between the two because there's all of this competition. Um, and naturally we favor India because they're an ally. Um, and Pakistan is obviously Pakistan is they're in the Middle East and they're more not culturally and not typically some a nation that's been friendly with us to the degree that India has. So yeah, those are the differences. India is a natural ally of the United States compared to Pakistan. And if India and China don't get along, right, and there's a engagement between India and somebody else, chances are that China is gonna go to favor that other entity. In this case, that's Pakistan. Yeah, well, yeah, well, that's how allies work. There's a lot of allies, yeah, but guess what? China is not one of them. Not like the U.S. is. That and India has a democracy, so and India speaks English, so there's a lot of synergy there with the U.S. And also the U.S. is competing with China for, as they call it, hegemony, which is basically being the top dog in the U.S., the world's superpower. And so, if India is mounting a resistance versus China, that benefits the U.S. If India is making China's life harder, that benefits the U.S. So yeah, that's what I think about that. Yeah, there is. There's a there's yeah, there is. Sure. Yeah. And that's bad. Yes. Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, we're gonna see how it goes. Obviously we have Trump, who's a very, I would say, creative. Yeah, Trump is very creative in the way they deal with things. Um, Look at the way he dealt with Iran. You know, he got a lot of criticism by people who are like, "Oh, he shouldn't bomb Iran," and now things look to work out very good there. Yeah, yeah, that's geopolitics for you. But yeah, in this case, I don't really agree with Elon that I think that H-1B should be limited, and I think it should have high standards, and I don't think it should come at the expense of the American people.
War on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. So when it comes to replacing American workers in manual labor with cheap foreign labor, it's deport, deport, deport. But when it comes to replacing his American workers with cheap foreign labor, it's f yourself in the face. Interesting. There's also affirmative action
Yeah,
and DEI.
of course, Elon is thinking of himself, like, and what's beneficial for his businesses. Businesses love H-1B visas, especially these like big tech companies. They love this shit. They love to be able to hire cheap labor from India and these other places. So I can see what he would, you know, be pro that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read up more on that to see what's going on there, so I can talk about it better. But yeah, yeah, I see what you mean.
Which are other things Fox News always pisses and shits about. But suddenly, when the conversation is about Gen Z men, the demographic of people who are victims of these things, suddenly these things just like don't exist anymore. Then it's, oh, young men are all just lazy. They just want to be in their parents' basement ordering DoorDash and playing video games. But it's not just the brown people taking your jobs.
You have to think to yourself, why would somebody be at home playing video games and living at their parents' place? Is that really better than getting, a girlfriend and going out and, like, starting a family and having a nice paying job? I don't think that's true. I think a lot of these guys would love to have, a nice job and a nice home and a nice family and this and that. It's just that they just can't right now. For whatever reason, they can't. I mean, think about it. It's the most natural thing for you to find a mate. Who doesn't want a mate? We're social species, right? If they're healthy men, they should absolutely want a girlfriend and everything that comes with that. So I think these guys are looking at this the wrong way. Instead of, like she says, instead of just hurling insults and critiquing these young men, I think they should be looking towards more constructive, you know, um, asking questions about why, finding out why is it that men are doing this? Why is it that they're not leaving the house? Why is it that they're spending all this time playing video games instead of, I don't know, doing something productive? Is it a coping mechanism? Are they do they have mental health issues? There's a lot of things to consider, and they're not being considered. These people are not doing their due diligence. They're just hurling insults.
I am not beating the allegations with this one. The brown people are not taking your jobs, okay? It's not their fault. They're just cheaper. Aim upwards. But it's not just the brown people taking your jobs. It's the women, too. Many of the dying industries are male-dominated, while many of the growing industries...
Yeah, and women are, by the way, women have... they are now the majority of graduates. They are the majority of people that go to college. Men are not going to college as much as they used to. Women have all these benefits, and there's all of these kind of like these there's all these benefits that they get for going to college, and it's working. It's getting women to go to college, right? And so women are becoming professionals at a rate that men are not. and men are now in a situation where like now men are the one who need help, but they're not getting it.
Are female dominated, and stigma around these jobs being woman jobs usually stops men from working them. Women are overwhelmingly entering and excelling in college and the workforce, and they're more flexible about job position and pay, while young men usually hold out for higher paying, higher position jobs that will make them the breadwinner. Because you see, despite the world progressing and the role of women changing, the role of men has not changed. Every woman is a feminist until the dinner bill comes. But what's crazy is, women might be the ones paying that dinner bill soon. A study from the UK found women aged 22 to 29 earned about 1,000 more annually than men, completely reversing the traditional gender pay gap for this age group. In the US, a 2022 Pew Research Center analysis showed that women under 30 out-earned men in many metropolitan areas, with median earnings at or above 100% of men's in cities like New York and Washington, D.C. That may not sound like a lot of money now, but it's a growing trend that has never been seen before. It's so bad that it's really starting to affect the dating world. American women have never been this resigned to staying single. They are responding to major demographic shifts, including huge and growing gender gaps in economic and educational attainment, political affiliation,
and what they found is that, like, if you're a woman and you graduated college, you got a master's degree, you're probably going to want somebody who's also has a master's degree, right? And so the more educated that women become, the more the lower, the less men they have to pick from as suitable mates. And this is something that happens to men and women, by the way. Men who graduate college also prefer to date women who have college degrees, you know, who have a similar education level. So it's very interesting. It's like people are kind of like shutting themselves in, you know, like they're just putting themselves in these tiny holes. And like the average person is just not good enough for them.
Beliefs about what family should look like. More women than men are attending college, buying houses, and focusing on their friendships and careers over dating and marriage. The challenges of finding a romantic partner have been made more complicated by a growing divide in education and career prospects between men and women. In 2024, 40% of American women ages 25 to 34 had a bachelor's degree, according to Pew, compared to 37% of men. A bachelor's degree increases net lifetime earnings by an estimated $1 million. Women are doing comparatively well when it comes to education in their early years in the labor force, and men are doing comparatively badly. Men's economic struggles seem to be having the biggest effect on women without a college degree, whose marriage rates by 45 have plummeted to 52% for those born between 1930 and
Whoa. So men's economic struggles seem to be having the biggest effect on women without a college degree, whose marriage rates by 45 have plummeted from 79% to 52%. Wow. So women without college degrees are struggling to get married now. And I guess part of that is because less men are going to college, less men are having the ability to be able to sustain a woman who doesn't have a college degree, right? Because they're obviously going to be earning less. That's pretty interesting. Young men without a college degree are struggling so much as a group that there simply aren't enough with steady jobs and earnings for non-college women to date. Holy shit, that is depressing.
1980, according to research by Cornell University. Young men without a degree are struggling so much as a group that there simply aren't enough with steady jobs and earnings for non-college women to date. Men are poor, women most affected. Modern women are no longer tied to their gender role. Birth control has freed them from the prison that is their biology, and they are making their own money, sometimes more than men.
I wouldn't say that that's actually true. I don't think that's true. I don't think birth control has freed them from their biology.
They can have it all. They can do anything. They can be anything. While at the same time, men are still expected to be the provider. And more importantly, many men still want to be the provider, but they can't. And women, though strong and independent, still want men to be the provider.
And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money.
Basically, men are like, we're worried we're not making enough money. And women are like, we're worried men are not making enough money.
Yeah, but they're not trying to help though. In this case, it's more like a you know, it's like that lady. She was just criticizing. You know, she's just like, oh, you're not good enough. It's not like, oh, how can we help you get there? What can we do? How can we remedy this? It's just, oh no, you suck. You suck. You suck balls. You're bad. Bye. That's what I don't like about this stuff.
Class, I am Miss On Head. I am substituting for your teacher today. She was arrested for molesting a 12-year-old boy. So today we are learning about the graph. This is the growth in productivity versus hourly compensation graph.
Yep.
And you can trace almost everything bad happening in society back to this graph. As you can see, productivity increased while compensation barely grew over the same time period. Notice they tracked very closely up until around 1972. Now, what happened around 1972, class? Well, the top marginal tax rate was reduced from 70% in 1964 to 50% by 1981. The federal minimum wage began to stagnate. Income going to the 1% rose from 9% in the 60s to 16% in 2023. CEOs also went from making 20 times more than the average worker to making 350 times more than the average worker. Anything else? Anything else happen around 1972?
Shit.
Yes, Jimmy, that is correct. Women joined the workforce around this time, but we don't have to get into that today.
Yeah, no, that is true. That's something that I've talked about as well. I don't want it to be like a sexist thing, but it's just the fact that companies really like the fact that women enter the workforce in great numbers. And the reason for that is because now they could pay less, right? Because now the workforce is essentially doubled. And so supply has dramatically increased, but demand didn't increase as much. And so they could pay people less now. And another issue is that women are less likely to, and this is just a fact, are less likely to negotiate. They're less likely to be assertive and aggressive when it comes to negotiating their pay. And so they essentially get taken advantage of and end up being paid significantly worse than male counterparts, because male counterparts are much more aggressive, I'd say. And that's just how it is. It's a difference between the sexes. It's a psychological thing. It's something that's been studied. So yeah, man, a lot of these changes have produced a lot of issues. But I mean, it's not all bad. But I do think that something has to be done. I don't think this is a good trend.
The fact is, hard work no longer guarantees success, and the will to work is tied to the fruits of your labor. And young men are fed up today because 90% of that fruit is rotten. Now, is there some truth to modern young people being lazy? Sure, I guess. Every generation had lazy people. And we do basically live in late-stage mouse utopia, after all. Young people today are faced with two options: revolution or escapism. And a lot of them are choosing escapism. Many have basically given up, but it's not like they didn't try. They tried and they found out the juice just isn't worth the squeeze, whether it's college, dating, or the job market. And in a way, many young men are kind of choosing revolution. The never before seen large shift rightward in young men is a small revolution in a way. They're saying, this is...
What's the matter with young male voters? If Kamala Harris loses the election to Donald Trump, disaffected young will inevitably shoulder much of the blame for the children or future, and nothing more than angry dudes. Yeah. Nothing is scarier than angry dudes.
Isn't working for me. This sucks. I hate this. I want something different. This is also manifesting on the Democrat side in general. The young men that are still voting left are voting further left. You saw this recently in New York City, where Zohran Mamdani, a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist, won the Democratic primary. Young men are tired of the establishment, left and right. They're tired of the system and they want to burn it down and start again. They want something that works for them because this is not working for them.
If you wake up one morning and you find yourself in a society where 23-year-olds with four-year college degrees and like initiative who aren't smoking weed every day, if they can't make enough to buy a car, much less a home, much less get married, much less have children, then why should you be surprised when half of them say they prefer socialism?
Yep.
Huh. Fox News should hire that guy. There is an entire generation of fighting-aged men who are enraged and feel like they have nothing to live for. You should probably start caring. When they saw this airing on Fox News, they saw an angry woman nagging in their faces about how everything wrong in the world is their fault. An all too familiar thing they have been hearing for far too long. But
Yeah, man,
unfortunately
it's
for
fucking
Democrats,
tiring.
nobody under the age of 60 watches Fox News, so this is not really going to have an effect on young men whatsoever. So keep that $20 million. You might still need it, unless we get dragged into another war in the Middle East. If we do get dragged into another war in the Middle East, young men might come running back to the Democratic Party. Maybe not even a George Bush 2 electric boogaloo will have men coming back to the Democratic Party. Hopefully we don't find out. And as I'm editing this right now, a lot of young people, even the podcast bros, seem pretty upset about the Epstein thing, but we know Democrats won't take advantage of the situation in order to protect the Clintons, so maybe not even this will save them, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah,
Hold on one
the
second.
whole Epstein thing has been good for the Democrats, I'd say.
That's better.
I just don't know
so
that it's
that was
gonna
that video. What do you think
actually
of the
amount
male
to
loser
anything.
epidemic? Do you agree with Tommy Lauren? Is it all men's fault? Leave your comments below. I
No,
read them
no,
all.
no.
I am probably
I don't think that it's men's fault. I think that, you know, you grab these men and you throw them in a different period in you know, in our history, and they'll probably find more success. In a period where it was easier to find more success. I think it's just become harder. There's a lot of forces at play. Like the whole thing with colleges, there's just been like this, in my opinion, a almost sexist kind of push for women to go to college, and you can see why it's a good thing. You want to get more women to go to college. You want to get more people to go to college, but the focus on the sort of minority aspect, in this case, the minority sex being women, it's had a certain effect on men going to college. And some men just don't even really like the college has become toxic to men and masculinity in many ways. A lot of the stuff that's, you know, become, some people call it woke or this or that, that stuff came from colleges. That stuff is the stuff that's taught there. A lot of that sociology, you know, and women's studies and this or that are from college. So I don't know, man. I don't even know that some men even want to go to college. And I don't know that's a good thing. I think so many institutions are out of whack right now. And I feel like the more they try to make things equal, the more they made things unequal. Because now these institutions are favoring people almost reactively, favoring people in a way that's causing an imbalance. It's not trying to reach 50-50. It's just trying to have the minority class just be the best, you know? And I don't know that that's the solution. I don't think you should pit people against each other. I never think that's a good idea, especially certainly not in this. So yeah.
reading them right now as you type them.
People-
Wait, don't write that. No, you can't say that. No, it doesn't matter if it's with an A. If you like this video, please subscribe, and if you can, donate to me on Patreon or leave a little tip with a little tip jar down below. I'll give it a little heart. It helps the channel, and I appreciate it so much. And I will see you guys again soon with a new video, a new slop video, because I know you gremlins love that shit. Bye!
Slop video. That was pretty great. That's a very good video. Thanks, Shu. You can't build a life with somebody that hates you on a subconscious level. This is true. We deserve to earn just as much as men. Why can't I find a man who earns more than me? Oh my God, is this the fucking truth right here? Like, Jesus. That is so true. It's like I feel like some part of biology is like being ignored here. Like, women want men who can provide and put more bread on the table than they can. And women are trying really hard to put as much bread as they can. And by doing that, they're reducing how many men could even apply to be a boyfriend or husband for them, right? You're literally reducing the chances that you will find somebody. And I think that's crazy. The real Epstein files were the friends we made along the way. One of the most diabolical. I love that intro. I don't know. My wife is Hispanic. We want to have children, and she told me something about her opinions on the gone at 18 thing. I don't know what that is. It's what I did. Oh, right. It's what I did. I left at 18, but she was like, when we have kids, we can't just kick them out. They'll leave, sure, but they always have a home with us. I kind of wish people valued being a family more. This is exactly what I was arguing about. That's where it was. That's how my family was. That That men aren't making enough money, women most affected paragraph made my jaw drop and left me staring at my screen for like 5 minutes. This was satire. But you know what? I think there's actually truth to this. I think that those women are suffering because there's like an ecosystem of like the man provides. And these women are now having less men that can provide. And that's messing with the dynamics of it all. Because now there's just not enough men. And that has resulted in a drop. I believe it was like a 20% drop in these women, these non college graduated women marrying, just period. So I think that it is true. And I know it sounds bad, you know, especially from a certain perspective, but I think that it is true that women may be the most affected, especially those women who are not like militant feminists or not, you know, trying to take, you know, these crazy sociology classes and, you know, this or that. So, yeah, my ideal relationship is one where I get all the benefits with zero expectations and responsibilities. Yeah, what a surprise. Fucking true. The classic men are struggling, women are most effective. Yeah, this was a great video. Fantastic video. Um, and yeah, I do think that this is something that needs to continually be talked about, just like the Epstein thing, because people need to wake up. There is a problem, and frankly, young men need help. They do. They need help. They're struggling to get things done on their own in a way that they haven't ever. And I think it's up to society to fucking stand up and say, okay, we need to address this. So yeah, wow, I streamed way later today because it took me forever to get through this video. Um, thanks for listening, guys. Zoe, um, Evelyn, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribe for Shady unsubscribed. I mean, I'm sorry, subscribed. um, last Yogas Bender follow the channel earlier. Thank you for following the channel, Bender. Um, and yeah, I think it was a pretty good stream. And I will be here tomorrow or more. Hopefully, I'll be able to put this on YouTube. Check out the YouTube, guys. It's growing slowly but surely. And I will see you on the next one. Peace. Thanks, Zoe, for hanging out. I'll catch you all tomorrow.